Take it to the front page of the Daily Graphic, where, well, the story has brought itself. Kotoka International Airport reverts to Accra International Airport. Although the photo here says Kotoka International Airport, I thought as soon as you change it,
just change the thing itself. Exactly what I was saying.
Let it go. Economy post fastest turnaround. 40 Ghanaian languages face extinction. Big story. Bernard, government should enable economy, not control it. This is coming from Osahin Alexander Apenyomakin.
Thank you.
Teacher licensure exam not cancelled.
Right. The Inside newspaper all set for Ghana's Day of Shame today. Progressives, Pan-Africanists to speak at a public forum on Nkrumah's overthrow, and 60 years on exposing the anti-Nkrumah lies, falsehoods, and the vile propaganda. Kotoka no more. Ghana restores Accra International Airport name, and Day of Shame. Nkrumah and the struggle for freedom is all about Nkrumah on the Inside this morning.
Front page of the Daily Guide newspaper, U.S. court denies Uforiata bail. Farmers head to court over cocoa price cuts. 3 arrested with 156 bills of wheat. The Kotoka story makes it to this front page as well. Car snatching syndicate busted. 1 killed, 4 caged. We had the IGP himself address this press conference on the arrest of this particular car snatching syndicate.
Ghanaian Times leads with the Ofanko and Sawam Road project. It says that it's progressing steadily. Contractor to complete work on schedule. This is according to the resident engineer. And Asantehene is here. Illegal mining. Asantehene urges government to adopt measures to preserve water bodies. GES suspends inter-school sports in central region as police probes incident, and 4 arrested in deadly Oshim Tigo Junction robbery.
And that story also makes it to the front page of the Overseer this morning from the central region. Also very sad, Bernard. Bongo DCE dies after short illness. On the front page, conflict of interest at Cocoa Board as Afua demands Atoboating steps aside. There's a photo of the deputy CEO of Cocoa Board, Atoboating, and looks like a fallout from the finance minister's visit to the immigration, to the customs people. Mahama appoints Aaron Kano as acting customs commissioner at GRA.
So daybreak today, Kofi Adams orders revocation of 17 NSA appointments. Apenyomakin questions government support for Gold Board. Telegram deletes Russian sexy videos, and customs commissioner sacked over tango with minister.
And with Economy Times.
Economy Times, Dr. Siama Esiodun Ketia, others mourn late Economy Times editor Elom Desewu, and falling global prices set off new alarm bells for Ghana's cocoa pricing regime. Energy Commission Board set to revolutionize Ghana's EV landscape with new regulations.
I have a lot of stories online. CitiNewsroom.com. Cement manufacturers warn of price hike over clinker delays at port. Meanwhile, IMF lifts Africa's growth forecast. Ghana others set for expansion. Tomato prices soar in Accra after Burkina Faso attack. Meanwhile, only 127 of 318 ambulances are grounded, according to the National Ambulance Service. So close to 2/5 of the ambulances are not working. Energy Ministry says no return to doom, so power supply remains stable. And then Kolebu interdicts 2 doctors and 2 nurses over the hit and run no bed case. So it's a good start. Police have given Swebusco or Swebus 24 hours to produce. What did I say? Swesbu, 24 hours to produce students over assault. We saw that horrific video. And so the police are saying this is not indiscipline, this is criminality. And if the school doesn't produce the students, they will produce the students themselves. Those are stories on the City Newsroom online page. If you go to ChannelOne News Online, 159 MMDA's development plans yet to be certified by NDPC. This is the DG. EPA to launch pilot cleanup of Birim River. Mahama names Aaron Kano as acting commissioner of SEPS. Meanwhile, Ghana remains key to Goldfield's portfolio. This is Mike Fraser speaking yesterday on the Point of View. Cocoa Board Deputy CEO welcomes probe, denies conflict of interest. And then this is another troubling one. Fire guts Zabzugu markets in the northern region. 1 week, 1 fire. That's what we're seeing now. Major Online, push them too hard, lose them to private hospitals. MP warns on doctors and rural postings. Meanwhile, Mahama is private sector participation in industrial water supply reforms. And as I said, 127 of 318 ambulances grounded as fleet ages. National Ambulance Service official reviews. This was on the Point of View yesterday. He said the ambulances have a 5-year lifespan and they were procured mostly in 2019. So it's 2026. Some of them have done 7 years.
5 years.
Don't stop at Aflao. FABAC demands nationwide border ban on selected transit goods.
Yeah.
Those are some of the stories making the rounds. The High Street Journal is also focused on health. Less than 10% of Ghana's public hospitals can handle complex surgery. This is according to Teddy Totime. ChannelOne TV premieres The Blanksons in strategic push to rekindle Ghana's local production industry. I'll give you that story. Meanwhile, reflections from Mexico for Ghana, the economics of stability. Those who say we can't eat stability, let's take a closer look at Mexico. Meanwhile, Trade Transport Ministries move to export bottlenecks as cement makers warn of risking demurrage costs or rising demurrage costs. This story is a big one. Citi Newsroom leads with it, and the High Street Journal also has it. Indeed, yesterday the president met with over 150 private sector producers, and the issue of cement delays at the port came up strongly. So maybe I can start with that. Daniel Sakite reports that cement prices could be headed for an increase, for an increase as prolonged congestion at Ghana's ports continues to delay the discharge of clinker, the key raw material used in cement production. Industry players have warned that mounting demurrage costs resulting from vessels waiting up to 13 to 20 days to berth may ultimately be transferred to consumers if urgent interventions fail to ease the situation. The looming threat of price hikes dominated an emergency meeting convened on Monday, February 23 by Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry Elizabeth Ofosue-Jari in collaboration with Minister for Transport Joseph Bukari Nikpe. The meeting brought together cement manufacturers and key sector players to address operational bottlenecks that have left clinker shipments stranded at the harbour for between 2 to 3 weeks, causing significant financial strain on the industry. Now, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Manufacturers of Cement, Dr. George Dosenamwa, described the situation as dire, stating that the cement industry was leaking financially due to escalating demurrage charges. Now, the two ministries are collaborating. Mr. Nikwe assures stakeholders that government is fast-tracking dredging works to expand berthing capacity and accommodate larger vessels. So our ports need to be expanded to get larger vessels to come in. He says when the dredging is completed by end of June, the port will be able to handle vessels of over 20,000 tons compared to the current 8,000 ton capacity. This expansion will significantly reduce vessel traffic. Let me give you another story still on prices of goods. Tomato prices saw in Accra after Burkina attack. Again, we're talking about imports, we're talking about Ghana. Daniel Sakite again reports that tomato prices have gone up sharply across some markets in Accra following the recent terrorist attack that took 8 Ghanaian lives in Burkina Faso. Traders in the capital say they've been forced to largely depend on supplies from Togo as sources from Burkina Faso have become increasingly risky. The shift in supply channels have significantly pushed up wholesale prices with rippling effects on retail market. Citi Business visited the CMB and saw a steep increase in tomato prices. For example, a basket which was previously supplied at 3,000 cedis is now supplied between 8 and 9,000 cedis. And according to some of the traders, there's pressure in the system. The large basket previously cost 3,000, but now we buy between 8 and 9, according to Prisla Opoku, a tomato trader.
But let me link that to Economy Times' falling global prices set off new alarm bells for Ghana's cocoa pricing regime. Toma Mehe writes that a sustained and significant slide in global cocoa prices dominated in US dollars is heightening new concerns about economic viability of Ghana's recently downward revised CD-denominated cocoa producer price, potentially eroding export competitiveness again and putting farmers' income at risk once more. As at mid-February, the price of cocoa on the global market had fallen to $3,613 per ton, which is lower than Ghana's new producer price of 41,392 Ghana cedis per ton, which translates to 3,762 per ton, US dollars per ton. Now, an exchange rate of 11 Ghana cedis to $1 US. This is even as local farmers are vigorously protesting against the recent downward review, arguing that President Mahama continues on page number 15, dealing with the falling global price and how it's setting new alarm bells for Ghana's cocoa pricing regime.
Well, on page 3 of the Daily Guide, they are reporting that cocoa farmers across the country have hinted of plans to drag the government to court over the non-payment of beans supplied for more than 6 months and the recent reduction in producer cocoa price. The Director of Communications of the NPP, Director of Communications for the NPP Baumia campaign team in 2024, Dennis Miracles Abuaji, who disclosed this in an interview yesterday, described the situation as uncalled for and largely beyond partisan politics.
For you, the Cocoa Farmers Association have called for negotiations between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire to establish proper regulation on cocoa supply to the world market in a bid to secure better prices for producers. The farmers believe a coordinated action between the two leading cocoa producing countries would help stabilize supply and strengthen their bargaining power in the international market.
Let me stay with the Daily Guide story. The government has officially, on page 3 again, the government has officially reverted the name of Kotoka International Airport to its original designation, the Accra International Airport. The Ministry of Transport announced yesterday. The ministry assured the public that the name change will not affect airport operations, safety standards, or international travel arrangements. The facility's international Civil Aviation Organization code ACC will remain unchanged. Now,
the code is ACC, so I think it's okay.
There have been some big changes in some places around the country. Do you have?
Yes. So so for example, yesterday we interviewed the Deputy Finance Minister about what happened with the goods in transit. So President Mahama, we don't know whether it's related, but the president has appointed Aaron Kano as acting Commissioner General at GRA. So, Mr. Kano, a seasoned customs professional with more than 3 decades of experience in revenue mobilization, border security, and trade facilitation at the GRA, a statement issued says his appointment reflects a career marked by integrity, operational excellence, and strategic leadership. Right. Before his role, he served as officer in charge of port operations, where he supervised key customs functions, including enforcement of customs laws, revenue collection, and trade facilitation. You can tell that the issue of smuggling is key. Yesterday, the president mentioned at his meeting with private sector that smuggling and counterfeiting are economic sabotage. Exactly. A quick story from Akosia Trade says that President Mahama has warned that smuggling, counterfeiting, and the rebagging of inferior products amounts to economic sabotage, pledging that his administration would treat such acts as serious economic sabotage. The warning comes after the interception of 18 articulated trucks declared for transit to Niger, which was suspected to be part of a broader diversion scheme. Then the FABAG is saying, don't stop at Aflao. They are asking for further nationwide bans on selected transit goods, which according to them, remember, Mr. Awuni has been talking about this a lot. So Food and Beverage Association has called on government to extend the ban on selected transit goods beyond the Aflao border to all land entry points across the country.
Right.
Caleb.
I wanted to bring this background to it. Says Customs Commissioner sacked, because we know that there's a new one.
Yes.
But then the Commissioner of the Ghana Revenue Authority Customs Division, Brigadier General Anand Glover, has been dismissed from office in circumstances that have sparked allegations of political interference. This particular paper says that sources close to it say that Brigadier General Glover's removal followed months of tensions between him and the Minister of State, who reportedly sought to influence certain administrative decisions within the Customs Division.
But you can see that the appointment of this new person coming on the back of the revelation, there's connections. So even though the statement doesn't state that, you can infer that there's a lot of concern about what happens at the port.
And
absolutely.
Do you have the interdiction story as
yes.
well? That was story
Kolebu, so again, I have 2 stories on health. Kolebu has interdicted 2 doctors and 2 nurses over the hit and run case. Abigalata reports that Kolebu Teaching Hospital has interdicted 2 doctors and 2 nurses over the alleged failure to provide emergency care to a hit and run victim. The decision was announced in a statement issued by hospital management yesterday, Monday, February 23, following public concern over the circumstances surrounding the incident, which reportedly led to the victim's death. Management said an internal committee has been constituted to investigate the matter and establish the facts surrounding the conduct of the medical staff involved. Pending the outcome of the probe, the hospital has directed all persons connected to the case to cooperate fully with the committee to ensure a fair, thorough, and transparent inquiry. This is what we've been asking for. Now, what is interesting is Kolebu does not mention the name of these 2 health professionals. But we do know that 29-year-old Charles Emisa, an engineer at Promasidor, died following a hit-and-run accident at Circle Overpass on February the 6th after sustaining severe shoulder injuries. He was attended to by emergency service providers who stabilized him and prepared him for hospital transfer. He was turned away by Police Hospital, Ridge Hospital, and Kolebu Hospital. Now, the ambulance service is also speaking. Yesterday, on the point of view, I interviewed Martin Ewa Amua, who said that 127 out of the 318 ambulances they have are currently not operational. The clinical auditor of the southern zone of the ambulance service told Point of View that we have 318 stations, but currently we have 191 in commission or functional, and 127 out of them are not working for obvious reasons, because an ambulance has a lifespan of 5 years. So after 5 years, there should be some steps to replace them. Otherwise, like any vehicle, high maintenance issues will crop up. Now, if you do the calculation, 127 out of 318 That's about 2/5 of the ambulances are not working. It's a serious issue. Of course, we are discussing emergency service provision, which is why this matter came up.
Well, Bernard, to some breath of fresh air, Ofanko and Sawam Road project is progressing steadily, and the contractor, we are told, is set to complete work on schedule. This is according to the resident engineer. If you go to the center spread of Ghanaian Times, Kingsley Asari writes that work on the Ofanko and Sawam Road project is progressing steadily, with most scope of the work completed. So far, about 80% of the work has been completed, with most parts of the road asphalted. Also, most of the storm drains and gutters have been completed. In addition, the various flyovers and footbridges are at various stages of completion. The Ofanko and Sawam Road forms part of the National Route 6 N6, which links Accra to the northern parts of the country. The scope of work includes the construction of 4 major interchanges at Amasaman, Pubima, Media, and in Sawam Junction, as well as a number of flyovers, footbridges, service roads, and ancillary facilities aimed at improving safety and easing congestion along the stretch. The project is estimated at $346.5 million and is being executed by Maripoma Enterprise Limited under a design and build contract arrangement.
While we commend the company and the government for the progress, some residents on that stretch have sent me a statement. They say the state of street lights on the circle Achimota of Pokwasi Highway a looming danger. Now, according to them, the circle of Fanko Pokwasi Highway is probably the road with the highest volume of vehicular movement each single day in Ghana. Experts describe this road as one of the arteries of Ghana because it connects the southern belt through the middle and north. But then they're saying that for the past couple of years, there has been no functioning street lights in the evenings. Functioning street lights are the marks of every city worth its salt, and Accra is no exception. One is always tense when driving in the night on the circle at Chimota of Fanko Pokwasi Road because of the total darkness one meets. To add to this distressing situation, the entire Pokwasi interchange is in total darkness in the evenings due to the absence of street lights.
That's true.
The street lights in and around the interchange have become white elephants. This is a looming danger.
True.
Accidents are looming on the Achimota of Anko Pokwasi Road. Those in charge must take urgent steps to fix the street lights on the road. A word to the wise is enough.
Professor Alex Berima sent me pictures of the situation at night, and it's very bad.
So whilst the road is progressing, we want to say that road is incomplete without the markings and the lights. So please do something.
Let me take you to page 13 of the Daily Graphic, Bernard. 40 Ghanaian languages face extinction. This is coming from the Executive Director of the Ghana Library Authority, Ziblim Al-Hassan Betin Tiche. Has revealed that at least 40 Ghanaian languages are on the verge of extinction, warning that urgent and deliberate measures are required to preserve the country's linguistic heritage. He said 70 African languages, including the Boro language in Ghana, had become extinct. Additionally, Dompo, once spoken by a hunter-gatherer group in Bunu East, is now confirmed extinct, with speakers having shifted largely to Akan. Several other Ghanaian languages are critically endangered, including Nauri in northern Ghana, Tuwuli or Bowiri in the Oti region, Chala in eastern Ghana, and certain dialects of Anufu Chakosi in the north. On the same, in the same paper, Bernard, you have the teacher licensure exam not cancelled on page 13. That's on the same page. This coming from the National Teaching Council. So you can
let me give you a quick education story. Police have given Suez Boost 24 hours to produce students over assault. We saw the video. The Ghana Police Service has given the management of Swedu School of Business 24 hours to produce students alleged to have assaulted a student of a branch Senior High School during a district inter-schools athletics competition. The directive was issued during a meeting between the police and the school's management on Monday. Monday is February 23, not 24. Editor, please check. Following the incident which occurred on February 20, the DG of the police CID, Lydia Yakun Donko, warned that the service would adopt stringent measures to identify and arrest the suspect if the school failed to comply.
Thank you.
And I'm happy with what she said. As a law enforcement, when incidents of this nature occur, we have to investigate and arrest. We have a number of ways by which we can make the arrest. But because this is a school environment, we are not going to adopt one of those means. This is why I'm giving you, as a school authority, that responsibility to produce them.
Sharp.
She says if they fail to produce the student, it will compel the police to take further action.
Thank you.
100% support this action by the police.
Thank you very much. Meanwhile, GES has suspended inter-school sports in the central region as the police continues with their probe. Cliff Ekufo writes that the Ghana Education Service has directed for the immediate suspension of all zonal inter-school sporting activities among senior high schools and senior high technical schools, the background of which you've already heard. Bernard, there are two important stories I want to bring to your attention there. Draft EV charging infrastructure, battery swap systems regulations ready. This Wonderful. Is Professor Gachi. Energy Commission says that it has completed the draft electric vehicle charging infrastructure and battery swap system regulations, which are now awaiting parliamentary approval. And the commission's that's the commission's board chair, Professor John Gachi, announcing. He was speaking at the opening of a 3-day engagement for board members and technical officers in Hull last Friday. Also, people have talked about the duties on electric vehicles and asked that we look at that because
EVs are sustainable and the duties on them don't make sense. Somebody sent me a message, Godfred, a car he bought in China for $10,000. When you add a couple of things to it, shipping and all the accoutrements, it was about $13,700. Yeah. Guess how much he's paying on duty at the port? $17,000.
That's more than the value. $4,000 more than the value.
So if we are serious about EVs, we need to really deal with the issue of the what do you call it? Let me give you a quick political story. Okay. So the minority is asking for a probe by the OSP into Atlas Commodities. So minority in parliament through the MP for Old Trafford, Vincent Koisufua, has called for a full criminal investigation by the by the OSP into the operations of Atlas Commodities Limited. Speaking to journalists in Accra, Mr. Sifua questioned how the company was able to operate in warehouses without prior license. He claimed that Atlas Commodities, a private firm, had been using warehouse registered under the PBC without authorization, raising concerns about potential conflict of interest and misuse of resources. And this is traced to, I think, the deputy CEO of COCOBOD, who himself has welcomed a probe and denied conflict of interest. So, Deputy CEO of COCOBOD, Atu Boateng, has expressed support for investigations by the Office of Special Prosecutor and SHRAJ following allegations of conflict of interest. So basically, that's something to keep an eye on.
Let me just run you through this one as well from page 2 of the Daily Guide. Former Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta has been denied bail by a U.S. court, leaving him in detention in Virginia as he fights deportation. According to reports, Judge David Garde ruled against his request, stating that he has access to adequate medical care at the ICE facility. And I'll wrap up, Bernard, with the sports page of the Daily Graphic on page 47. Kofi Adams, Minister of Sports and Recreation, has pledged 2 months of his salary to the Ghana Sports Fund.
Well, ICS demands ban on cat and dog meat consumption. This story is by Elizabeth Kabuki Okanse. The Institute the Institute of Community Sustainability, ICS, led by Executive Director Eric Jerry Edu, has called for an immediate ban on the consumption of cats and dogs in Ghana, citing serious public health risks and ethical concerns, urging the government, media, and the public to recognize these animals as companions rather than livestock. I agree. According to Edu, cats and dogs play essential roles in Ghanaian homes. True. They are family companions, providing emotional support to children and the elderly, and serve as security guides. Kale, we have to progress. Protecting homes and businesses. Treating them as meat diminishes their value and undermines community bond. But that's not all. He also warned that consuming cats and dogs poses a grave threat to human health. Unregulated slaughter and handling can transmit deadly diseases such as rabies.
It's true.
Trichileloniasis and cholera, putting individuals and communities
Anthony Kamo will not agree.
No, stop that nonsense.
The City